Welcome to Undercommon Taste. This is a podcast where we create and discuss homebrew content for tabletop RPGs.
May Kurtlemock's release be swift, and may his vengeance be quick and severe.
I'm Ian Woodworth. I'm joined by my co-host James Daly, and today we're back on dragons. We are going to be talking about some of the extraplanar dragons, specifically ones from the inner planes. So that would be the Feywild, and since we've already done the shadow dragons, we're not going to be talking about the Underdark, but we are going to be talking about the inner planes, so the elemental planes and the paraelemental planes. And then we have one that should have been in the last episode, but didn't fit the theme, so he's going to be in this episode instead.
They don't mind moving around a little bit. It's fine.
Yeah, we organize them as is convenient.
Exactly. That's right. Dragons play to our whims. Oh, wait.
Something like that.
That might be why the gnomes were messing with my tech recently. Maybe it's that kind of hubris that gets me on occasion.
Yeah, I can see that happening, you know. Kurtlemock can't save your PC.
I seriously have it's weird. Like, sleep mode apparently was putting it into permasleep, and I could have to restart it and do a full power cycle, but it's up, it's running now. I'll have announcements towards the end of the show that's semi-related, but we'll save it for then.
All right. Yeah, so let's go ahead and just dive straight in, because we're important people with many important things to do.
Exactly.
Or at least that's what we tell ourselves.
Fair.
We got to do something to keep our self-esteem up.
That's right.
So we're going to go ahead and start off with one that James has been wanting to do for 4 episodes now.
I love this one.
We're finally getting to it. We're getting to the Moonstone Dragon.
Yes! I'm going to say of all the dragons, I think temperament-wise, I would be probably closest to the Moonstone. And I like Moonstones as the mineral as well. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about these.
Yeah, so Moonstone Dragons are native to the Feywild. The lore behind them is that when the gods first arrived in the material plane, there was a dragon who fled into the Feywild to hide her clutch of eggs. And the dragons which hatched from that clutch of eggs were the first Moonstone Dragons, because they were infused with that chaotic creation energy that you find in the Feywild.
That funny little Fey magic.
And so I wasn't able to find the actual 2nd edition entries for Moonstone Dragons. Moonstone Dragons showed up in 2nd edition in one of the annual compendia, and then showed up again in 5th edition in Fizbin's.
I was going to say, were they in Dragon Magazine?
They may have been at one point,
yeah.
But if they were, that entry was not cited in the wiki article that I read.
Fair.
And just given the panoply of abilities that the Moonstone Dragon has, I would wager that the Moonstone Dragon from 2nd edition was not attached to the Feywild, but instead attached to the Plane of Dreams.
I could see that too. Again, it does fit. They get a lot of that kind of dream effect with a lot of their stuff.
A lot of their abilities are tied to sleep and dreams. And so, yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
But I mean, the Feywild in itself is kind of it's almost a dreamscape in its own. And so I think maybe these existed while they hadn't fully figured out what they... I don't know, 2nd edition. I could see them figuring this out while they didn't know what they wanted the Feywild to be yet. This also feels very Emerald Dream for our Blizzard fans. Yes.
Yes. And if I recall correctly, much in the same way that the Plane of Shadow got melded into the negative energy plane during the Spell Plague at 4th edition lore, I'm pretty sure that the Plane of Dreams got folded into the Feywild during that same time period.
That would make sense.
And, during that time period, the inner planes, the elemental planes, got all busted up and broken up and were floating around in this giant chaotic soup that was called the Elemental Chaos. And so you would have pockets of the different planes just sort of floating around that you could sort of navigate between, but they didn't have that strict constraints, those strict boundaries that they used to.
Yeah. I mean, again, for our Blizzard fans, it is basically Cataclysm without ruining the game. I'll throw a little shade. I know you liked Cataclysm.
I mean, I liked Cataclysm because it was the first expansion that I really got into raiding and stuff, and I had an active guild that I was playing with a lot. That's what I miss about Cataclysm, is that was just when my WoW group was active.
That was peak WoW for you?
Yeah, that was peak WoW for me.
I get that. And the dungeons were great. Going on a complete rabbit trail. The skill tree, and they teched everything way, way down, and they made it very face rolly and very cookie cuttery, which I didn't care for.
Well, I also have to remind you yet again that the big paring down of the talent trees into like 6 trios of abilities you could choose from, that happened in the pre-patch for Mists of Pandaria.
That made it worse.
That was not the bulk of Cataclysm.
No, it went from bad to worse. I didn't like what they did in Cataclysm. I was very unhappy with that initial paring down, and then what they did in Mist of Pandaria made it just... Mist of Pandaria brought some fun stuff in, so Mist of Pandaria was playable and fun, but that, again, we went from massively pruning the tree to an absolute stump. But again, that's Blizzard and not Moonstone Dragons, which are amazing.
Yeah. Right. So, back to Moonstone Dragons.
Yes, they're shiny.
They are shiny. They have opalescent scales. So they have these sort of milky white scales that shift with different sheens depending on how the light is hitting them. And they've got ruffs of emerald-colored hair, like fur.
Yeah.
That sprout from their chest, and they have little goatees on their chins, and they have little tufts on the end of their tails.
Despite the description, I would almost see these more like the Asiatic serpentine dragons. I think would be a better fit than the heavy-bodied European dragon with this.
Well, they're fairly live. They're not bulky. They have the same general silhouette of a European-style dragon, but they're definitely not built stocky, like a white dragon would be.
No, these are not like big drakes.
No. And then the most iconic feature of them, they have a pair of horns. They have one that sprouts from the tip of their nose, and one that sort of sweeps back from right behind their skull, on the back of their skull. And when seen in profile, it looks like a crescent moon.
Yeah.
That is probably the most iconic element of their appearance.
Yes. And again, tying in with the Feywild, you have both Selene and Saloon, so you have both the moon goddesses. So again, very fitting.
Yeah. And again, this is where I'm talking about the Plane of Dreams getting incorporated into the Feywild, because I'm pretty sure that Saloon used to reside in the Plane of Dreams.
I don't recall, but it probably yes.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So, as a general rule for their subspecies, they tend to avoid getting involved in the affairs of the material plane. The younger dragons tend to be mischievous and playful and getting into things in accordance with their Feywild connection. But as they mature, they sort of mellow out and they become, quote, wise and gentle storytellers and teachers.
I just like that.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you have to have the experience in order to teach other people. They are teaching by example.
Yes.
And sometimes that example is, I went and made a whole bunch of bad choices in my youth.
Or I caused people to make bad choices in my youth. But yeah, no, these dragons really feel wholesome. I mean, even more so than the gold dragons, these feel wholesome to me.
Yeah.
Gold dragons kind of come off pretentious.
Oh, gold dragons absolutely come off pretentious. That's kind of in their whole archetype.
That's their shtick.
Silver dragons are the ones that are more civilization-oriented.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely say that even compared to silver dragons, Moonstone dragons feel a bit more, I don't want to say altruistic, but they definitely feel better.
Yes. Like I said, they just feel wholesome.
Yes, wholesome. That you said the word and it leaked out of my ears and I didn't remember it. But one of the things that they are known to do is they will use agents to interact with different elements of the material plane. They go and they inspire artists and they encourage intellectuals and they try to spur adventurers into undertaking these heroic deeds, things that will make a good story.
Yeah, so these are the muses kind of stem. I don't want to say they stem, but they don't quite work for, but they come from here. So I could definitely know a bard who knew a guy who knew a guy. And that third or fourth guy up, quote, quote, might be a white dragon, you know?
A Moonstone Dragon.
Oh, yeah, Moonstone Dragon. Yeah, sorry, my brain just moved. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially for, like, those points of inspiration, or, like, if you really wanted to draw in and use, like, the Greek concept of a muse for, again, a bard or an artist in your campaign, or an artificer would actually absolutely be, or a sorcerer, not a sorcerer, but a wizard for a muse, you know, again, these absolutely would anchor in. And that muse could be attached to a moonstone.
Yeah, this definitely has philanthropist, patron of the arts vibes going on.
Moonstone warlock patron.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you would have that warlock being sort of bard flavored.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, actually you wouldn't even really have to do that, because as long as they are undertaking these sort of heroic deeds, these actions to build their renown.
Yeah.
These things that are specifically intended to be boasted about and, stories told about.
Like
these great and daring deeds.
That, or even if you took, extra levels in Rogue or like Trickster Cleric, because again, if it was a younger Moonstone Dragon, then they would still have kind of an inkling of that mischievous bent to them, and maybe they're living vicariously and they're starting to separate themselves from that chaos. Now they're just using agents of chaos in their stead.
Right, yeah. So, moving along, one of the weird things in their description is that they are said to sustain themselves on moonbeams and nectar, and that they are decidedly, specifically not carnivores. So they're not going to try and kill anything with the intent of eating it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a really interesting thing, is that they're basically ascetics. They they don't really eat much of anything.
Yeah. I like the moonbeam and nectar. I kind of see these pictured. You have the tapestry of the unicorn. I think it's called
the unicorn tapestries. Yeah.
Instead of that, I could see a moonstone dragon, and instead of it butterflies and stuff around it, it'd be those green lunar moths.
Yeah,
and just like
moths,
a bright, just a bright nightscape. I mean, that's the mental image I get with this.
Okay, yeah. So, as they are technically a gem dragon, just not one of the more common subspecies, they do tend to be neutral in alignment, and they have access to both arcane and divine magics. So in 2nd edition, on the arcane side, they focused on primarily illusion, enchantment, and alteration spells. And then on the divine magic side, they tended towards healing and divination and good aligned necromantic spells.
Okay. Again, for me, I always jokingly say that my life goal is neutral karma. So I'm building up my good karma for the day that I just really need to kick a puppy or push an orphan in the street or something like that. Jokingly. I can kind of see that too for the Moonstones. Again, keeping that neutral. But again, also going with that divine magic. Again, you could go trickery with that. That would be fine. With their type of magic they have, though, especially since they do a lot with that dream space, I see them doing a lot of liminal effects. So like making hallways or pathways seem much longer or much shorter, or making time seem like it's dilated or compressed, and like really messing with your perception of your surroundings to disorient and confuse more than attack hostilely.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the illusion and enchantment magic are primarily for.
Right.
Is like, the illusion is the tricking the senses, the enchantment is tricking the mind.
Right.
And at least in older editions, they had an aura of awe rather than an aura of fear.
That's amazing. I want an aura of awe.
So, creatures that failed their saving throw would just stand quietly and stare, and they would have no clear memory of the encounter afterwards.
See, I want that. I want that.
And because of that sort of ability that they have, and some of the weird little breath weapon effects that they have, they are actually immune to being charmed.
Nice.
And so, as I mentioned, before it appeared in Fizbins and 5e, the only other published appearance in an official D&D product was in 2nd edition. And playing into my assertion that I'm pretty sure that they were tied to the plane of dreams rather than the Feywild originally, they have a lot of abilities that are tied to sleep and dreaming. So, as an example, in Fizbins, one of the regional effects that they have for the region surrounding their lair is that they are capable of communicating with creatures within the regional effects of their lair through dreams. They're able to just contact them and talk to them through their dreams.
Okay.
And they are also capable of banishing creatures within their lair to a dream realm. So they basically banishing them to a demiplane.
See, I like this. And so with this, I have the idea for an adventure hook. You could run this one of two ways, either just normal, or if your players wanted to run a quote-quote evil campaign where the players were primarily evil if they were working for hags. Either way, they get banished into a dream state by a moonstone, and it's layers and layers of dream, kind of like Inception. And they're having to fight and explore their way out of these different dream levels to get back to consciousness to regain themselves.
And, you know, if you wanted to do it in a different way where you're not really doing an evil campaign, if you want to do just a standard heroic campaign, let's say just for instance that a night hag has trapped a moonstone dragon in a nightmare realm.
Oh, that would be interesting.
And so you have to go into the nightmare realm, find the moonstone dragon, and break them out.
Oh, yeah. See, I want to build this campaign. I want to, be it a one-off or like a shorter campaign or even a longer campaign because you could make it fairly deep.
Yeah, I think that in order to really get into this would have to be at least like a 4-session campaign. I think that a 4-session arc would probably be good for that.
Yeah. And I think good mid-level, probably like 5 to 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was thinking about level 8.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make a great module.
And so another interesting thing about the older edition Moonstone Dragon is they seem to have an aversion to bright light, specifically sunlight. They were able to conjure dim light and darkness at will, which would be a way for them to combat the bright light of sunlight. But they, as far as I can tell, had like a sunlight hypersensitivity, kind of like vampires.
Okay.
Where if they took sufficient damage from a bright light source, like a radiant damage source, like a sunbeam, they would actually get banished to the border ethereal, and they would have to wait there until they fully healed before they could cross back over.
That is interesting. That probably has a lot to do with, again, if they were in that dreamscape, because, again, you know, you wake with daylight, so
right,
I could see that.
And that plays into the whole moon aspect, because sun and moon is that dichotomy.
Yeah.
And you do see that a little bit more with Spelljammer. You have sun dragons and moon dragons as these sort of cosmic dragons in Spelljammer that are perennially at odds with one another. They are diametrically opposed. And so, while I haven't read into them a great deal, and I can't tell you any real details about that, I do know that sun and moon dragons exist, and that they are diametrically opposed to one another. And so this would still be playing on that same sort of vibe.
Yeah.
In 5th edition, they have 2 primary breath weapons. One that they can use as a normal breath weapon, and one that they can use as a legendary action. And they had access to a 3rd one in 2nd edition, which is actually really cool.
It really is, yeah.
So starting off with the 5th edition ones, you have Dream Breath, which is a 90-foot cone where you have to save or you get put to sleep.
Night-night.
In 2nd edition, this also affected things that could not normally be put to sleep, like elves.
Impressive.
Yeah, even things that were normally immune to magical sleep would get put to sleep if they failed their saving throw against Dream Breath.
Imagine being an elf and being like 300 or 400 years old and falling asleep and having never slept before, ever. Like, what the hell just happened?
The first time you fall asleep and have a dream.
Yes.
You've gone 400 years without a dream.
Yes.
It's like, it's the most vivid hallucination you've ever had in your life. And then the other one is a Moonlight Breath, which is just a line breath weapon that deals radiant damage.
Fair.
And then the 3rd one, the one from 2nd edition, where it was technically a breath weapon, even though it doesn't really feel breath weapon-like. It's a breath weapon in the same way like the Steel Dragon had the conjure a cube of poisonous gas that save or die.
Right.
The breath weapon would create these motes of light that were like 20 to 30 feet in diameter, and anything that went into the motes of light, it would dispel all spell and potion effects, except for those necessary to keep that character alive.
I love this for the fact that you're walking in with like your +3, +4 magical weapons and armor, and they get turned to basic.
Well, no, it's not going to turn off your enchanted weapons, but it is going to do things like it's going to cancel your heroism.
Yeah.
It's going to cancel out your hero's feast.
Yeah. All of your, like, Owl's Wisdom, Cat's Grace.
Yeah, it's going to cancel out your bless. It's going to cancel out your freedom of movement. All of these different things. It's going to cancel out, like, your Swiftfoot potion, your haste. It's going to cancel out all of that.
Agatha's armor.
Armor of Agathis. Absolutely. Yeah. Mage armor.
Yeah. Now, DM question. How would you handle metamagic, a sorcerer's metamagic with this? Or even their wild magic?
Well, I mean, it's only canceling static effects.
Okay.
It doesn't say that you can't cast spells in it. It's not an anti-magic zone.
Okay, so it's just
a dispel magic, basically.
Okay, fair. Okay.
And also, if they fail, they fall asleep, and when they wake up, they have only fleeting memories of the dragon. Like, it's basically a mind wipe.
Yeah, we'll go with that. That won't get us demonetized.
Well, I mean, it's not like the dragon is going to do anything to them while they're asleep.
It's not a Bill Cosby.
No. There are no pudding cups in the Moonstone Dragon's lair.
It's a motive pudding cup.
So
again, going for neutral karma. That was some of my bad karma, so now I gotta help an old lady across the street now. It's how it works.
So Moonstone Dragons tended to lair in all three, the material, the Feywild, and the border ethereal planes. They tended to make their lairs in things like fairy mounds or hidden woodland caves. And due to their whimsical nature, so their fey-tied nature, they often had multiple layers within a close proximity to one another. And their presence and their hopping back and forth between all of these layers on all of these different planes of existence would result in portals between the different planes appearing in or around their layers.
And again, that can be an adventure help too, is that your party is looking for a portal. Knowing this, or, a person knowing this sends them looking for said Moonstone Dragon in order to find the portal, not necessarily to encounter the dragon.
Yeah.
Now, again, another DM question for you. Knowing what we know now about the Moonstone Dragons, would you say that it would be a more elder dragon or a more juvenile dragon that would be found in the material plane?
I think you would be more likely to find a juvenile dragon just wandering around.
Okay.
I think that you would be able to locate a more senior dragon and its lair. I would think you would be able to find them more easily because they are more likely to be a bit more sedentary, a bit more in a place, a little less transient.
Right.
But I think you are more likely to encounter a younger Moonstone Dragon just out and about because they have this whimsical, mischievous lifestyle. They're inherently curious. They want to know more. And they just, in their nature, going to do things that are going to get them into trouble.
Yeah, okay. I can agree with that. Again, tying back where they don't really care a whole lot to be in the material plane, just from, tradition and lore.
Now, the lore doesn't say that they don't want to be in the material plane. They don't want to interfere with the events happening on the material plane.
Gotcha, okay. That holds. I was going to say, because the way I was picturing it is that if there was an elder dragon, Moonstone Dragon, in the material plane, it would be there with a purpose. It just wouldn't be there for giggles, because it'd be like, I prefer the Fae, I prefer the ethereal.
Yeah. And then, as a last little bit, the preferred treasures for Moonstone Dragons are white metals, so platinum, silver, and mithril, along with things that are more intangible or less easily valued, so things like a heartfelt song or a story of happy times. Okay. So they prefer the white metals to the yellow metals because of that moon versus sun aspect.
Understandable.
So like gold and copper remind them of the warmth of sunlight, and that's just not their vibe. But they do also really like that sort of intangible artistic thing. They like having those folk songs that you can't find recordings of because people were singing them before recording equipment existed.
I like it. I really see, like, some white-haired, like, not necessarily even old, but, like, white-haired, either elven. I'm leaning towards elven with this just because, again, with the Fae, but bards, again, especially, like, embroidered in silver and white, almost like troubadours or, like, mariachi type. Again, instead of that black and gold, it'd just be white and silver.
Yeah. And now, there are some of these stories that say things like the first mithril that was crafted into items by the elves came from the tears of a moonstone dragon. And things like if a moonstone dragon were slain and it was sort of a heroic sacrifice sort of death, then their body would dissipate into the dream ether and their heart would be left behind as a lump of pure adamantine.
Ooh.
And those came from 2nd edition entry. I was not able to find any of that in Fizbin's.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. The Bard for Moonstone, Elton John.
I don't know. I think David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust. I think Ziggy Stardust would...
Okay, yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah, I think Ziggy Stardust would be a Moonstone Dragon.
Okay, fair.
One of those horns is that Goblin King codpiece.
Nice. Okay.
Anyway, moving along. Let's go ahead and knock out the one dragon that is technically from the material plane. They are from the Underdark. And so they should have been in the last episode, but because it's not a template like the Shadow Dragon is, we're going to go ahead and do it now. And these are the Deep Dragons. Deep Dragons are one of the larger subspecies of dragons, but they have more of a serpentine body.
Okay.
Than a traditional European-style dragon. These are sort of if you've ever seen them, they're not very common, but if you've ever seen them, like the Middle Eastern-style dragons, where they're kind of like a serpent with the long, skinny legs and the...
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the sort of appearance that you've got with them. And they are more inclined towards shape-shifting, because they do have multiple forms. They have a serpentine form where they just basically make their legs disappear. And so they're able to more easily crawl, like slither through the tunnels of the Underdark in that way. But they're also able to take on a humanoid form.
Nice.
And being as they are natives of the Underdark, their preferred humanoid form is that of a drow. And they love to, like, infiltrate drow cities and just see what's going on. Because,
I can see that.
Because, again, like the Moonstone Dragons, they are inherently curious creatures.
I love curiosity.
They want to know. They are known for their patience and cunning, and they would really rather manipulate and negotiate as opposed to fighting. But they are absolutely not going to back down or shy away from a good scrap. And so there are some drow cities, most notably Menzoberranzan, that actively hunt deep dragons because they don't want them coming in and messing up with what they've got going on.
Yeah, I mean, if you've read the early Drizzt novels, you know, where they go into depth about Menzo
is just a terrible place to live.
It really is, and the power struggle between the families is on such a thin, balanced line that a deep dragon coming in just to tip the scale one way or the other because it can, you know, just drop a weight and walk away and giggle, or just to see what happens, could really, really mess centuries of planning up in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That said, I totally want to see it happen.
Yeah. So, deep dragons have very deep purple scales, like almost black in anything but the brightest light. And a lot of the older dragons will actually develop sort of fungal growths in and around their heads and necks. Again, because it is the Underdark and everything is mushroom themed down here in the Underdark, because there are no plants that live in the caves.
I would see this almost like a frill or a mane.
Yeah, it could absolutely take that form. And, you know, that whole mushroom spore sort of thing does play in a little bit later with some of their abilities.
Yeah.
So, in 4th edition, deep dragons were not called deep dragons. In 4th edition, they were called purple dragons. It is the only edition where they are called purple dragons instead of deep dragons, and in 5th edition they came back. Deep dragons love collecting information, especially things like trivia and tricks and knowledge from distant places, because they do have certain restrictions on them. They do have that sunlight hypersensitivity, so they can't go out onto the surface in most conditions. And so they love hearing these stories from people who have been to other places, tales about what other places are like. They also really like to collect magic items, but not just to hoard them like a lot of dragons do. They, like fang dragons, actually use the magic items that they collect.
Okay.
And then on top of that, they do have a number of innate magical abilities that have fluctuated a bit through the editions. So in addition to their being able to basically polymorph themselves, they have the innate abilities to transmute rock to mud.
Nice.
And to cast spells like Pass Wall, Freedom of Movement, and Stone Shape.
Okay.
And these are all abilities that they have developed specifically to navigate the tunnels of the Underdark.
Makes sense. So with this, again, another adventure hook I kind of have proto in my head forming is that we have one of these deep dragons. And from stories, the Drow have certain paths and routes that they take from the Underdark for their surface raids. And so maybe this dragon appears as maybe like an older drow or like a homeless type drow or a wanderer. And he sits near these things waiting for these raids to come by, asking for information about what they've seen on the surface. And if they are on the rare chance nice or feeling benevolent, like I said, on the rare chance, he would trade them information or some of these magic items. But if in the more likely case they insult him or drive him off or otherwise anger, then he's going to follow them back to their city and cause chaos. And so either you're dealing with the chaos caused or you're somehow in the middle of that, but that being a story start or story hook that this group of drow warriors coming in or out somehow slighted this dragon on the way back and didn't offer information or drove him off. And now you have to make amends somehow.
One thing that I could really see is, say, there is this dwarven or this deep gnome or some other subterranean race settlement nearby that keeps getting raided by the drow. And they're getting really tired of it.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they enter into a contract with a deep dragon. And so next time this drow raiding party comes up the tunnel, the deep dragon just seals off the tunnel behind them.
Oops.
And so they go and they do their raid, and they turn around to leave, and they start down this tunnel, and the tunnel just stops.
Oh, yes, I love it.
And so now they are trapped in this tunnel with these pursuing dwarves getting ready to box them in.
Oh, I love it.
And give them what for.
Yes, I love it. So good. I want to play it.
Because there are a lot of instances that they talk about where deep dragons are willing to take on these sort of contracts as protectors of regions, as regional protectors, partly because of their great ability to navigate quickly through the Underdark.
And again, too, if one group or the other has made a habit of insulting said dragon, dragons can hold a grudge.
Oh, yes. They're known for holding grudges.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So, deep dragons have two primary breath weapons. The first one that they have is a cone of acidic gas. So, this caustic gas. And then the other one that they have, which has been reskinned to Nightmare Breath in 5th edition, it deals psychic damage, and then you have to save or you're frightened.
Okay.
So, in older editions, instead of being frightened, you would become either dazed if you saved, or dominated if you failed.
I like that one.
And so that particular ability was changed to be part of a legendary action that they have called Commanding Spores, which forces the target to make a wisdom save, or they have to use their reaction to make a melee attack against a random creature in range, or take a small amount of psychic damage if they can't.
Okay.
In older editions, they had the sunlight hypersensitivity that is gone in 5th edition, but that makes sense for a creature that lives in the Underdark.
Okay.
I mean, it's like myconids. Myconids have sunlight sensitivity. Kobolds have sunlight sensitivity. But they also have the ability to breathe fungal spores, which they can use to poison a target.
Okay, I'm going to give you an Undercommon homebrew. Are you ready for it?
Okay.
So we have a Deep Dragon, and
Are they breathing shimmer spores, James?
Yes, either that or the mushrooms that grow around them are in fact the shimmer spores.
Yeah, I mean, and that plays into the whole psychic damage and the whole poison and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, it does play into all of that. But one of the interesting things about Deep Dragons is because they have this breath weapon that allows them to poison a target, they are straight up immune to the poison condition.
I love it.
Which means, canonically, they are also unable to get drunk.
Hey, I like it.
So,
I'm going to have a drinking contest.
Imagine, yes, a deep dragon shape-shifting into a dwarf and walking into a festival and entering a drinking competition.
It's Brewfest. I love it.
And just drinking everybody under the table. And they are just acting like they're getting drunk.
Yes.
I mean, they're old enough that they've observed enough drunk people that they are able to put on a convincing act.
Yes. That is one of my favorite Norse myths is, I forget if Loki sells or somehow absconds with Mjolnir, and so the giants have it. And they demand in order to get it back that one of them wants to marry Freya.
Yeah, and so they dress up Thor in a dress.
So they put Thor in a dress and they go and they're having this huge wedding feast, and Thor's like pounding down and eating like entire goats and sides of beef and drinking whole casks of mead. And the funny thing is Thor just like completely blowing the disguise because hey, food and why not? Or Freya was kind of a badass in her own right. Could she actually put down that much on her own and go toe-to-toe with most people? And I kind of like that version of it a little bit better.
I do too. So, as for their diet, deep dragons prefer anything that can be loosely called seafood. So they like things like clams and fish, but they also have been known to eat things like kuatoa.
Shrimps as bugs.
And aboleths.
Oh.
Because they're immune to poison, they're immune to the mucus on the aboleth.
Oh, nice. That's just extra flavor. It makes them spicy.
Yeah. And they also consider themselves to be enemies of the Illithid and cloakers for some reason. I know that cloakers used to be far more dangerous in older editions than they are now, but they consider themselves to be enemies of the Illithid and cloakers and hunt them whenever the opportunity arises. Okay. They will go out of their way to hunt down mind flayers.
I like this. And again, too, especially with the popularity of Baldur's Gate 3, which was amazingly well done. Illithid are used a lot more. So again, if you have, a drow, a dwarven, a gnome society, and Illithids are a problem, maybe you're seeking this deep dragon to make a bargain for protection.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, as I mentioned, deep dragons hoard knowledge. They like knowledge. That's what they really want. And they really like unique treasures with interesting backstories. And one of the things that they love to do is they love to curate their hoards like their museums.
Oh, God, I love these things.
And they'll rearrange the displays, and they love to give lengthy tours of their collections, especially to other deep dragons.
Yeah, these come in a close second to the Moonstones for me. Like, I fall somewhere right between these two.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So that's the bulk of what is the deep dragons.
I love them.
Yeah,
I
they're
want one
great.
for a pet or a friend. I'm going to pet that dog.
I pet that dog. So the rest of these should go pretty quickly, because the next one, they are not big, imposing dragons in the sense that we usually think of dragons. We're going back to the Feywild for this one. These are fairy dragons. They are tiny in size. So they're like the size of a house cat whenever they're fully grown. They start as red when they're young, and they slowly transition through the whole prismatic spectrum until they reach violet as an adult. So it takes them about 50 years to get there. And so they have these long prehensile tails, so like a chameleon tail.
Okay.
and they have these platinum-colored butterfly wings.
Nice.
And one of the things that they have said in all of the entries that I've read so far, their diet primarily consists of things like bugs, fruits, and berries, but they like to eat butterflies. And their wings will take on the coloration of the butterflies they eat.
Yeah. Again, for our Blizzard fans, Brightwing, if you've played World of Warcraft or if you've played Heroes of the Storm or Hearthstone, Brightwing is a fairy dragon. And I like Brightwing. Brightwing's fun.
Yeah, those are fun little sprites to deal with. And so, because they are tied to the Feywild, they are chaotic good by default. They are especially mischievous and referred to as the pranksters of the wild.
Yeah, I love these things. These things are great.
And I think in 5th edition, you can actually have one as a familiar. I'm not certain, but I think you can. In the improved familiar.
Yeah, I was going to say it might have to be like an improved familiar, like a Quasit or something like that, yeah.
I mean, because they are roughly equivalent to pseudo-dragons.
Yeah.
And I know you can have a pseudo-dragon as a familiar.
Familiar, yeah.
They might be a tad too magical and too intelligent for you to just have by default. But honestly, if I had a player who wanted a fairy dragon as a familiar, I would probably figure out how to do that.
Okay.
So some of the things that they can do to help with their mischief. They have the ability to turn themselves and anything they're carrying invisible at will.
Nice.
They can telepathically communicate with any creature they can see within 60 feet.
Okay.
They have magic resistance.
Nice.
And in older editions, they could plane shift into the Feywild at will.
At will, or?
At will.
Oh, nice. Just nope.
Yeah, they just boop.
Yeah, again, these things are fun.
Now, I don't think they could shift back at will.
Okay.
But they could absolutely just nope into the Feywild at will. They had their little eject button. If it got too hot, they just hit the eject button and they poop.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, these things are great.
Yeah.
I like Bloop. This would be a close second to Bloop.
Yeah.
Or Squee, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Squee. You are
Squee.
Bloop.
I am Bloop. Bloop is me.
Squee! Yeah, Squee is a reskinned a twig blight so that James's little Myconid spore druid would have a little buddy.
Yeah.
This may or may not, if the game ever happens again, because it's been a while since we've played.
Unfortunately.
This may or may not end up causing you to take a level or two dip into Warlock.
I was wondering if, because again, I was wondering, and I didn't want to metagame, but again, I did meet something fairly beefy, and I was like, this could be an option.
It would be an option. This is basically, what it is it's a fungal elder treant, basically. It's like an elder treant, but it's a mushroom instead of a tree.
Oh, okay. I like it.
That was the entity that you met in the Feywild.
Okay,
when you stepped through the portal.
Nice.
And Squee is the agent of that entity, and accompanying you as basically a familiar.
Okay.
But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Just a little bit. Hey, look, rabbit trails.
Yeah. So, fairy dragons rarely travel alone. And if they do travel around, they're usually in the company of sprites, pixies, or other fae. So they're going to have backup. And if they ever get into a fight, they are really quick to call for backup.
Yeah. I think if I was going to do this, again, depending on party level, I think, some sprites, a couple pixies, a handful of will-o-wisps, because will-o-wisps can really wreck a person's day.
Oh, yes. Yes, they absolutely can. Although will-o-wisps are technically undead, I could definitely see reskinning them a little bit to make them more of this sort of fey spirit as opposed to an undead spirit.
Right.
And so fairy dragons have the coolest breath weapon ever. Their breath weapon is a cone of euphoria gas.
Oh my.
So if a creature is affected by this euphoria gas, at the start of each turn for 1 minute, they roll a d6. On a 1 to 4, they take no action, they take no bonus action, and they use all of their movement to move in a random direction.
Okay.
On a 5 or a 6, they don't move, and then they get to use their action at the end of their turn to try and make another saving throw to end the effect.
Okay.
That's it.
I like it. So Verdigris needs a dentist with a fairy dragon familiar, and that's how he anesthetizes people for dental work.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect. So, as I mentioned, as fairy dragons get older, their color shifts through the whole prismatic spectrum. And their list of innate spells that they can cast once a day expands as they hit different levels of color.
Okay.
So at red, they start off with Dancing Lights, Mage Hand, and Minor Illusion. All things that can cause a whole lot of mischief.
Yeah.
At orange, they get Color Spray.
Nice.
At yellow, they get Mirror Image.
Good defensive spell.
Because you need 4 of them.
Yeah. Exactly.
At green, they get Suggestion. At blue, they get Major Image.
Ooh.
At indigo, they get Hallucinatory Terrain.
I like it.
And at violet, they get Polymorph.
Just because.
Just because.
Yeah, these things are fun.
Yeah. And there is a setting, and I didn't think to write it down, but there's like a Magocracy culture, I think in the Forgotten Realms, where fairy dragons are one of the preferred pets to have as a mark of wealth and arcane status.
Understandable.
The ones that were listed there were fairy dragons, Tressum, which are the sentient winged cats.
Yeah, I mean,
And miniature Behirs.
What are the Behirs?
Behirs are the 6-legged lizard things that breathe electricity that were bred by the giants to fight the dragons in their war against each other. They were like mutated versions of blue dragons.
Okay, so they're thunder lizards.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I like cats. Cats don't need wings. That's just asking for too much trouble. Like, I love me a mischievous creature. I love a creature that's intelligent enough to get itself into trouble and know it's getting itself into trouble. And it's like, okay, you know what? You pulled this off. Good job, you. Should have done things better. I mean, that's just the kind of critter I like. Cats with wings is too much.
Yeah. And, in that same vein, I would honestly put Grimalkin on that list as well of pets that you can have because they are shapeshifters. Their preferred form is that of a black cat, but they can take the shape of any, I think it's medium-sized beast or smaller.
Okay. Was it the flumphs? The elephant ones?
No, that's the Holophant.
Holophant, yeah. I mean, those would be kind of fun, too.
Flumphs are the flying spaghetti monsters.
Oh, okay. Also kind of cool.
Yeah. As far as I can remember, they are the only good aligned aberrations in D&D.
Yeah, I kind of want one of those.
They move by farting. No, really.
That's how they do.
And they communicate telepathically, and they show their moods like a mood ring by changing color.
Yeah, I kind of like those. Fairy Dragon are one of those. I think that would be my 2 picks.
Yeah. And according to the guys over at Goblin's Corner, they taste like marshmallows. But you are definitely going to hell if you eat one.
Fair.
So let's get into, real quick, the Elemental Drakes. The Elemental Drakes are these dragons, or dragonkin, that are native to the Elemental Planes. In 3rd edition, in the Draconomicon, they had 4 for the main elemental planes and 4 for the different para-elemental planes. So the transition between those 4. So you have your air, earth, fire, and water for your elemental planes, and you have your ice, smoke, magma, and ooze for your para-elemental planes.
Okay.
And they all have different minor abilities that, really affect how they interact based on what plane they're from. All of them have the ability Flyby Attack, which allows them to move, attack, and then keep moving.
Nice.
I think without provoking attacks of opportunity, but I can't remember because it is 3rd edition, and it has been a very long time since I played 3rd edition.
Yeah.
But so let's go ahead and get started. Started with Air Drakes. Air Drakes are these sort of gossamer white in appearance. They have a gaseous form, so they can dissolve themselves basically into a cloud.
I like it.
They have an ability called Air Mastery, which gives other flying creatures a penalty whenever they are attacking the Air Drake.
Ooh, I like that.
because they're literally tied to the element of air, and so they're able to basically control the air around this other flying creature to make it more difficult for them to fly, more difficult for them to manipulate weapons and such in and around everything. And I would also flat extend that to attacks with ranged weapons. So like, if you have a bow and arrow and you're trying to shoot down an air drake, they're going to be able to deflect those arrows.
Yeah. Does that wind wall? I forget. No, it's not wind wall. There is
there's a wall of air.
Wall of air, yeah. That's what I was thinking of, yeah.
There is also a wind wall, but I think that's a much higher level spell.
Yeah.
And then they are also capable of summoning a sandstorm that can obscure vision, snuff out flames, and it can potentially break concentration on spells.
Understandable. Like, again, if you've ever been in a sandstorm, you would understand that. It's like standing in a sandblaster. It's not fun.
Yeah. And then the one real big takeaway from their stat block is that they are arrogant cowards. So they like to lord their power over lesser creatures, but they're quick to flee if it appears that they're outmatched.
They're schoolyard bullies. Done and
yes,
done.
Absolutely. So moving along to the next one, Earth Drakes. Earth Drakes, I think, got the short end of the stick on this one. They have a burrow speed, but their fly speed is reduced to like basically half of what everyone else's fly speed is, because they got stumpy little wings.
I guess, again, too, I mean, if you're in the plane of Earth, where are you really going to fly? So that burrow speed's really where it's going to count.
Yeah, but they do also have the ability lightning reflexes, so they get, in 3rd edition, it's a +2 on reflex saves. If I were to bring them into 5th edition, I would just give them advantage on dex saves.
Yeah, and uncanny dodge, I'd give them both.
Yeah. They also have the ability Earth Mastery, so it gives them a bonus to attack and damage rolls if the thing that they're attacking is touching the ground.
Nice.
But it also imposes a penalty against attacks against flying and swimming creatures.
Okay. I mean, kind of wonky, but I get it.
And then they have an ability called Earth Tremor, which literally it's an earth tremor. It's a localized earthquake where you have to make a save or you fall prone. It doesn't do any damage. It specifically does not disrupt structures. It just makes you fall over.
If you could make that as a bonus action, though, especially if you're getting advantage on creatures that are on the ground, you make them prone, and then you're attacking with advantage on top of that, that can ruin a lot of days real fast.
One thing that I would suggest doing is, I think we saw this a bit with the Gorgon, the big petrifying metal bull creature that we had talked about way ago when we were talking about petrifying creatures, where they have like a charge through attack.
Yeah.
I would say that they would have an ability where if they moved so far in a straight line, the creature that they went to hit had to make a dex save before the attack to see if they could stay on their feet.
No, I like that. I'm thinking like Bugs Bunny, where he's like kind of burrowing underground and he's got that mound and he just knocks people over. Yeah, that works.
And so one of the things that they do specify here is that they are slow and ponderous, and they're not very bright.
Okay.
And they can be easily manipulated by crafty characters. And the example that they give is trading low-quality gems in exchange for information.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But they are apparently incredibly violent when roused to anger. So if they catch on that you're taking advantage of them, it's going to be bad, okay?
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. So next up are Fire Drakes. Fire Drakes are among the more powerful and evil of the elemental drakes. I don't know why they decided to make them inherently evil. Probably because this is the plane where the Ifriti live, and the Ifriti are the lawful evil of the Jinn.
Yeah. And people are going to think fire planes are going to think like a fire, and it's going to tie in. Yeah.
Their big ability is they have something called innate heat. So they deal extra fire damage on all their melee attacks. They deal fire damage to any creature that they happen to have grappled.
Ooh.
And any creature that makes a melee attack against them takes fire damage, no save.
Okay, it's kind of like Hellish Rebuke, just all the time.
Yeah, and it's just a d6, but a d6 every time you hit it adds up real quick.
Yeah, let that fighter go ahead and take their axe and surge. Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, especially since Fire Drakes had the combat reflexes feat, which allowed them to make 4 attacks around.
Oh, nice.
And we're talking about a CR10 monster. All of these are around CR10. And they were often mistaken for young red dragons. And they would take advantage of that perception and use that to their advantage because in their mind, people are willing to do a whole lot of things in order to not make a red dragon angry.
Fair.
And so they would manipulate this perception of them as a red dragon to get things from travelers.
Can't fault them for that.
Yeah. Though most would actively avoid confrontation with actual red dragons.
Again, understandable. Fair.
Yeah.
Again, we can see they are a step or two up the intelligence ladder from the Earth Drake.
Yeah, I think the Earth Drakes have an intelligence of 8.
Okay, yeah, so they're akin to the White Dragons?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or actually, they're more similar to, like, the Brown Dragons. But I think that the Fire Drakes are somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 intelligence.
Okay.
So they are decidedly more intelligent. Yeah. They're smart person smart.
Yeah, okay.
Slightly above average, I should say.
Yeah.
And then the last of the main elemental drakes are the water drakes. Their big thing is that they're amphibious, so they can breathe underwater and on land. And they have an ability called Drench, which allows them to extinguish fires of large size or smaller. So that I think it's up to 15 feet, I think.
Okay.
I think at 16 feet you jump into the huge size category. I think large is 8 to 16.
Okay.
And they can extinguish magical fire by touching it as if casting Dispel Magic on it.
Impressive. I like that one.
And then they have an ability like the Earth Drakes called Water Mastery, which gives them a bonus to attack and damage rolls if both it and its target are in water, but it imposes a penalty if the target is on dry land.
All right. Fish out of water. Marco!
Yeah. And one of the things that is mentioned in its entry is that they tend to reside in the same sort of areas that dragon turtles like, but individual water drakes are not powerful enough to tangle with a full-on dragon turtle.
Very few things are.
But they are known to form packs, and a pack of water drakes will sometimes attempt to tangle with a dragon turtle and either subdue it or drive it off.
Oh my, that would be the Planet Earth episode I would want to see.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, ooh.
Alright, moving into the para-elemental ones. And these ones didn't really have a whole lot on their things because the para-elemental planes are not planes that are typically gone to. Yeah, they don't use them very often. So ice drakes have these sort of ivory blue scales, and they are very intelligent, but they have sort of a halting pattern of speech. So a lot of people think they're not very intelligent, but they just have trouble forming words.
They're going to speak like John Malkovich.
Yeah, or Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken, yes. I love it.
So they have the ability Frozen Touch, which is the inverse of the innate heat that the Fire Drake has, so that they add frost damage to all of their melee attacks, and they deal frost damage every turn when they grapple something, and things that make melee attacks against them take frost damage.
Okay.
They're immune to cold, vulnerable to fire. They're literally the opposite of the Fire Drake in this instance. I think that they should have Spider Climb. I think they should be able to skitter across ice without penalty.
Yeah, I like this. I think they should hang like icicles and do like an ambush drop attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like enhanced white dragons, really.
Yeah.
That's sort of the niche that they fill.
Yeah, I like these things. They're fun.
But they're smaller than white dragons, and so they tend to give predators and creatures that are larger than them a wide berth. And they tend to be scavengers more than hunters. So like hyenas, they will let the lion kill the thing and eat its fill, and then they will come and pick over the carcass when the lion moves on.
Okay, again, talking about the whole, like, Forgotten Realms, Planet Earth thing. A pack of these ice drakes versus a younger white dragon. Like, fighting over a kill. So you'd have, like, 5 or 6 of them trying to steal the carcass from this thing.
Yeah, like a Remoraze.
Yeah.
Yeah, the white dragon kills a Remoraze, and then the ice drakes come in and try and... They think that they have a good chance of stealing this kill from the white dragon.
Yeah.
And because there are more of them, and because ice drakes are more intelligent than white dragons, they might actually be able to pull it off.
Again, I would watch it.
Yeah. All right, next up are the magma drakes. So they are the most powerful of the elemental drakes. So they're from the paraelemental plane of magma, which is between fire and earth. And their scales look like cooling lava. So they have this sort of glowing red between the scales, and then the scales are these sort of shiny obsidian black.
Okay.
And they are known to partner with Ifriti or salamanders. So salamanders being the sentient fire lizard creatures.
Yes! Love salamanders.
They are immune to fire, vulnerable to cold. They have the improved grab feat for better grappling.
Okay.
And anything that they grapple catches fire.
Okay. I would make these like fire Komodo dragons.
Yeah, a bit. With wings.
Yeah.
And so it was like an insanely high reflex DC 22 save, which is stupid high for a CR10 monster in 3rd edition. But, I mean, it has hold of you. It has you grappled. And so you're making this save once you're grappled to avoid catching on fire.
Yeah, that's going to ruin your day.
Yeah.
You're cooked.
Literally.
Yes.
And then, so next up are the ooze drakes. They have these sort of green-gray scales that are constantly dripping this caustic goo.
Ew.
Yeah, so they have this green slime, this like ectoplasm that just sort of slicks off of them.
Yeah, I'm going to texture off these. No, I'm good.
Yeah. They also have improved grab, so they can, grapple you. And instead of dealing fire damage like the magma drakes, they deal acid damage whenever they got hold of you.
Okay.
And that's if it hits or grapples you, or if it is hit in melee combat. They take acid damage. And the acid damage damages anything that isn't stone.
Ooh, okay.
So if you're attacking it with a non-magical weapon, it's going to eat it.
Nice.
If it hits your armor, it's going to eat it.
That is something that needs to be back in 5th edition is armor breaks. Armor and weapon breaks.
Yeah. It also has lightning reflexes, so it has the bonus to reflex saves. It has multi-attack and it has power attack. So it is able to hit the 4 attacks around, and it's able to turn 2 of its attacks into one big hit attack.
Okay.
And they're also amphibious because the plane of ooze is between earth and water. So they're coming from these swampy areas, and they're just generally unpleasant.
Yeah, these things, I'll pass on these.
Yeah. And then the last one are the smoke drakes. These are the only elemental drakes that actually have a breath weapon.
Okay.
And I found that really interesting, that none of the other drakes actually have a breath weapon. And the breath weapon is basically the only thing that it's got. It doesn't have any other real big bonuses to anything. It doesn't have any really standout feats that help it in combat. So its breath weapon basically has 2 modes. The first mode is this hazy smoke cloud that sort of obscures vision and will start to choke you if you're staying in it, or an incendiary cloud that deals fire damage.
Oh, either work.
Yeah. And the last little detail is that they are the most territorial of the drakes, which is kind of interesting considering the ephemeral nature of smoke.
Yeah.
But they are also known for holding grudges.
I like it.
And so that is it for the elemental and para-elemental drakes. I think that there should be quasi-elemental drakes, but that's another 8 drakes, and I don't have the time or energy to do that right now.
Yeah, no, it's been a very spoon-heavy couple weeks.
It really has. So we're just going to wrap up there.
Sounds good.
I think next time we're going to start in on the dragons of the outer planes. Our next dragon episode, we're going to start in on the dragons of the outer planes. I think we might start with the upper planes and then move to the lower planes. We might end up breaking it up into quarters. So we're doing 4 planes at a time.
All right.
I think that will make it much more manageable and much less info dumpy.
Fair. Yeah, because these can get really chunky sometimes. And some of these dragons have a ton of lore behind them, and then the next dragon's it exists.
Yeah.
Next dragon.
And then there are some of the dragons, like the Oceanus dragon and the Styx dragon, that they live in the rivers.
Oh,
so they go across multiple planes. So the Oceanus dragon goes across all of the good aligned planes. The Styx dragon goes across all of the evil aligned planes.
Nice.
So yeah, those are things to keep in mind. So we'll figure that out as we get to it. Our next episode will be our 5th year anniversary.
Huzzah!
And we have let time get away from us, and we are probably not going to be doing a game for our anniversary episode this year.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But we will have something special. I don't know what it is yet, but we will have something special for our anniversary episode. So anyway, that's where we're going to wrap up tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you have any comments, suggestions, or ideas, or if you want to tell us which quadrant of the outer planes you want us to cover first, or if there is a specific extraplanar dragon that you want us to cover first, send us an email, undercommontaste@gmail.com, or come and tell us directly in our Discord. You can find a link to the Discord and all of our other social media through our website, undercommontaste.com. You can also find links there to our Patreon, patreon.com/undercommontaste, and our itch store, undercommontaste.itch.io.
If this is your first time listening, we're very happy you found us. You can find our other episodes dealing with all the other dragons previous on your podcatcher of choice. Just search Under Common Taste on your podcatcher and you'll be able to find us there. As always, give us a rate and review. This helps increase our visibility and lets us know what you want to hear more of. Also, on the side note, things I've hinted at, I've gotten my PC system. It looks like some of my tech issues are balancing out. Life is going crazy, so I will resume my Twitch streaming probably at the beginning of this upcoming October. I'm going to take September because I've got some classes and some work stuff that I need to balance out. But after that, I should have some more time. So we will be resuming Twitch streaming in October.
So stay safe, everyone, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Happy gaming.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Under Common Taste. Our theme song is Massacre Anne, written and performed by Mary Kroll and used with permission. You can find Mary online at marykroll.bandcamp.com or on Patreon at patreon.com/Dr. Mary C. Kroll. Our logo is by David Sutherland. You can find more of David's work on deviantart.com/David Sutherland or on instagram.com/Willex_73. We'll be back in 2 weeks, so stay safe, and we'll see you then.